one of the most talented creators that I have discovered in the Formula One space. Lucas, what's going on today?
Hey, how are you? Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for the compliment. That's quite overwhelming. Thank you.
I know content creator is probably the lowest bar we could give you because you do so much. You're filmmaking, you're producing, you're behind the camera, you're in front of the camera, you are kind of producing these things or directing them.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the work and for those that are listening, there's a specific piece of work that how we got connected was through a video, which I want you to actually talk through this in a second, but it was of Jean Alesi driving through Monaco in a Ferrari 312. I think it was the T, right? The 312T.
B3. It was the
B3.
one right before the T, yeah.
And then somehow I think Charlie connected and said, "Oh, that's my friend Lucas that made the video," and then we connected, and so here we are. But just incredible, different stuff that you don't necessarily see in the space. There is so much creativity out there, but sometimes something just hits you and he's like, wow, that's different, but it was simple and it just worked. And I like to think that you are probably one of the best, if not the best out there doing this kind of stuff. So thanks for joining me and chatting a little bit about.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
And where are you right now? Tell everyone exactly where you're located right now.
I'm in Monaco right now. I have a small media production company, which is based here. And I was lucky enough to grow up here, but I'm originally from Brazil. So yeah, it's been 20 years I've been down here now.
I think if you say the word Monaco to anybody, the first thing they think of is either gambling or Formula One. And I think they kind of go hand in hand, right? It's like, oh
yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of worldwide sporting events that happen here, but for sure, Formula One is probably the number one thing you associate when you think of Monaco.
Well, again, I appreciate your time, and I want to talk a little bit about. I kind of want to jump right into that first production that introduced us, and then we'll go from there. But
yeah,
for those that can see the video, if you're watching the video, I will drop in his video right here. That's pretty cool stuff, right? Like this is, but here's what, and as somebody in production myself, in video production, it's not entirely a difficult concept. Like it's not an overly complicated concept. Tell me what was the goal you were trying to go for, and how did you make it happen?
It's kind of a funny story because we had the main productions. I work a lot with virtual reality, so we were doing virtual tours of their VIP spaces for last year's Grand Prix, and it was sort of like an extra sort of idea that I tried to make happen. I didn't think it would happen. I was just like, guys, so as you know, I'm into extreme sports and onboard cameras. Like, if you find a car or two and let me put a camera on top, there may be something cool we could do, Then they got back to me like a week later. I had just had a surfing accident, so I walked into the meeting, probably the most important meeting of my life, with like my head was huge. I had a huge scar. And then they showed me the two pictures of you recognize immediately Niki Lauda's car. They showed me these two, not one, two. They're like, so these are what you have to play with. I was like, okay, wow. Like I've never done anything like this before. And then I don't know, I didn't realize, but I had the idea on the spot. I'm like, let's just stick a camera on the back of the rear wing, why not? I had seen a video of an F40, I think, which had that angle. The angle had been used before, so I wasn't the first, but I was the first to put on a Formula One car. And then I sort of did my research, went out that day. We put a bunch of other cameras as well on the different sides in the front wing. And then I stuck it on the back. I didn't know if it was going to hold on because that car runs about 280 kilometers. You can do the conversion to miles after. But yeah, that was for sure the project that I was the most nervous about, the most excited at the same time. Like it was quite hectic. There's a behind the scenes sort of vlog that I did that shows the step by step. And then I think I've never been so happy to see the cars come back and all the cameras were still stuck, because if they fell, that was it. And then it came back and I checked the footage and I'm like, wow, it's actually better than I thought. But then since those cars with those engines are extremely loud, not as loud as the ones we get nowadays, we had to separate the sound because the microphone of the camera was just overloaded. So we stuck a microphone with duct tape to the bottom of the car somehow, and it recorded the sound beautifully.
So what camera did you actually use for the? I like
So
this kind of stuff always gets me curious. What did you use?
So I work closely with a camera company called Insta360. So I basically work a lot with 360 cameras, and for anything sports, I use their cameras. And the camera that was used on that particular angle, the rear wing, was the Insta360 1X2, which is probably my favorite little action camera.
Nice. I mean,
Yeah.
the view is perfect. You couldn't see any, like you can't see really where the camera is necessarily mounted,
Yeah.
right? Which is great. And yeah, I mean,
The comments were hilarious. Like,
what was the best comment?
like there was a lot of I think the best one was after it went viral and after it got shared everywhere. There was some guy who like photoshopped a seat hanged on the back of the rear wing with like some metal structure, and as if I was like sitting behind the car as it was racing around the streets of Monaco. That was quite funny. But then a lot of people didn't think it was real. So that's why it created a lot of debate. People were like, no, like it's a video game. It's since it was an angle that hadn't been shown before in a Formula One car, people were like, no, there's no way. Like it's CGI or someone made it on a computer or something. And then the only part where you can actually tell that there's a camera stuck on it, which some people picked up, was obviously the shadow of the stick on the floor. So a few people picked that up, but no, some comments were really, really funny. And it was amazing to see sort of the positive reaction. And I knew that it was going to make some noise because I knew that it hadn't been done before in Formula One, being, inspired by F1 onboards myself. But I didn't think it was going to go that viral, let's say.
You said a couple things that are very interesting. One was that you are into extreme sports. What and I think this is very important for some to know and listen to, is that inspiration for things like this, especially if you're a content creator, is that you don't necessarily have to be thinking about what's happening in your particular space to get inspiration. So what about the extreme sports and your background in extreme sports gave you that idea? Like what was it? Where did you pick that up from?
Well, I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. Like I've always been into sports, and then I've always sort of been into media production. And as you develop your skill, or as you get more into your craft, I was testing out their cameras with surfing or snowboarding or diving or things like that, and I just realized, and I understood the benefits that a small little 360 camera could bring to sports or even an event or a production. And then when I had the opportunity, because they're awesome client that we work very closely together with, when they gave me the opportunity, like, okay, you can put onboards on this car, I was like, okay, let's try something new. Let's try something that hasn't been done before on a Formula One car. So also the 360 cameras that we put on, there was one on the side, one on the top, one on the front wing. There was one inside the cockpit, but there was a delay with the previous session, so it ran out of storage. But I think it's just like, you develop your craft, you see what things are possible, and then you try and adapt it to different industries. Like, okay, that works here. How can I make this sort of cool effect or this cool angle or this cool concept work for something different? So then I think that application, for me, it's just I'm developing my extreme sports and surfing and whatnot. But then when you put it to something that's much more relatable, like Formula One, much bigger market, it sort of makes an impact in a way. And then the awesome thing was as well, much after it went viral and all that stuff, was like Red Bull was always sort of like a company that I always looked up to and always wanted to work with. And then a few months later, like they recreated that angle in Silverstone. I'm like, that's pretty cool, So that was awesome.
They had a similar angle on the plane that went through the tunnel in Italy.
Yeah.
They had kind of a similar angle to that as well.
Same camera.
Oh, really? Okay. So
yeah.
Let me ask you this: from a production standpoint, because the video looks good, it's very cool, but it's not this very crisp 4K looking.
Yeah.
When do you say to yourself the cool factor or the wow factor is more important than the quality? And when I mean quality, like actual like video quality.
Yeah, yeah. That's a tough one. I think if it's new, people are willing to sort of give away that quality range just for the cool effects or something new. That's a tough one. But yeah, I think it depends on the level of production of whatever is being made. If it's just like a quick TikTok or Instagram post, which is quick, I think people are sort of, willing to sacrifice the quality, and it might make a buzz. But if it's like a bigger production, then yeah, you need to have the red cinematic 4K cameras, etc.
Sure. And I'll go a little bit further as to why I asked this, because you mentioned something else about being obsessed with onboard cameras. So right now, the popular onboard camera, it's not new by any stretch. Formula One has done this for a long, long time. There's photos going back to the 50s and 60s of drivers with these cameras on their helmets. But now the cameras in their helmets, on their helmets, are these little pinhole cameras. And so we see them now in the broadcast constantly. There's all over social media, they're showing that off.
I think there's 4 drivers every race that have that camera in their helmets. Yeah.
Back to kind of the quality thing. You watch that, it's not high quality by it. It's not this like amazing quality by any stretch, but it is one of the most shared. And I do a lot of analytics on the social media side and what's being shared and who's seeing it, how great is the reach. And those videos are always constantly the ones being shared, being talked about, being reposted over and over.
Yeah.
Because the angle is more important than the quality, but also I think it allows for a sense of realism, right? There's more, you get a better understanding of what maybe the driver's seeing in the cockpit. And the one from Bahrain where Charles Leclerc was looking side to side as Max was coming down the straight, you literally see him going left to right in his mirrors and checking, and it
hadn't been done before. Yeah, it hadn't been seen before.
Yeah, it's very.
But there's a couple things there that go back to your first question on the quality, which is actually super interesting. I got this piece of information. I can't remember if it was in Bahrain or in Jeddah, but it was so the pinhole camera inside the helmet quality is not great. They have developed it a bit better, a lot to do with stabilization. But then through the social media comments, they were able to see that like, actually, it's too good now. It's too stabilized. People preferred when it was more shaky and stuff, which is like, okay, so maybe for something that particular, quality isn't what weirdly people want, even if it's available. I don't know if they've actually gone back to the old one where it's a bit more jittery.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting, when someone told me that, I was like, really? That's weird.
Well, I think there's a sense of, as a consuming video and not, the majority of folks are not video producers, right? So to them, it is what gives me the most
sensation,
realistic, the sensation of being in a car or, following a car. The reason I think your video also did so well is because it gives you this perspective. Most people are never going to go to Monaco. Most people are never going to walk the streets of Monaco, drive the streets of Monaco, see an F1 race in Monaco. It gives them this perspective of, wow, I'm driving behind this Formula One car, or I'm on board with this Formula One car, especially an iconic one, of course, right? But
of course. But I think it's also a combination of factors. It was Bluebird Day, Niki Lauda's Ferrari, new angle, and I think why it also did so well is because a lot of people, a lot of people play video games, and that's literally the angle that the video game gives you to drive. So I think a lot of people must have related to their video game days or their video game ways. Like, okay, we used to drive this, but in a fake world, and now this was done in real. It's actually possible, And then it was also interesting seeing like all the sort of the more old generation F1 fans or people who work in it. Like, okay, there were people literally like, okay, how do we put this in an actual race? How do we put this in a broadcast? I was like, kind of impossible. You can't really have a stick hanging out the car in the middle of a race, because they're always they're incredible. They're always trying to do the best, So it was cool to see like, okay, how can we apply this to real races? If this is what people liked and reacted to, we need to put it in a race.
Right.
So I think maybe one day in the long distance future, when you have, I don't know, drones or some invisible thing, maybe it's possible. Because that would be quite cool to see that angle in an actual proper race.
And if you're able to
That would be
switch to
really,
it on demand too, right? Like,
yeah,
so I'm a Formula One F1 TV Pro subscriber, so I always can look at onboard cameras, but not
yeah,
like I can't see a pinhole camera now. It would be great if every driver had the pinhole and we could just imagine switching over to that whenever you wanted to,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That'd be really cool. Yeah,
Like that's cool.
that'd be awesome. Yeah.
What now? The pinhole cameras. We were talking before we started. Where are those? Like, what are those? Like, who makes them?
So there, I had the chance to see one up close, and it's smaller than I thought. It's literally, I can fit it like on my nail. It's really small. And what surprised me the most when it started coming out, I was like, how are they broadcasting that live? Like, I know how they can do it because I tried last year. We in the Jean Z production, I was actually trying to put a tiny camera like that big, which is already too big, inside the helmet, and time didn't allow to make it safe and stuff, so we didn't end up making it. But then now they came up with this little camera. I think it's made in Italy. There's a picture that came out of Charles Leclerc as well. It's like it sits on the foam. It's
Yeah.
like already embedded in the foam. There is a wire that goes down somewhere, and there's a little box somewhere of some sort, and that's how they're able to get it live. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's fascinating what we're seeing now. And the question for you, because you've been around it and you're an enthusiast, is more than an enthusiast, but
Yeah.
do you think that with the sport getting more popular and this increased demand for the sport, do you think that that's why we're seeing a lot of innovation in the broadcast sense or in the content sense, or is there something else driving it?
I think, yeah, 100%. I think that the demand and the sort of rise of, creative people doing a lot of different things, they have an incredible, established structure with top of the line cameras and technology. You have all the best companies in the world that sponsor the team. So I think they're always looking for innovative ways to show the sport because there's so much to show. As we said before, there's data and things that we don't even have access to that are important. So I think the demand, and also just to keep it new, keep it interesting, show new things. As we were talking before, they're always trying to show new graphics and new, telemetry to sort of give an insight to people. Because, the success of Drive to Survive, it got people in behind the scenes and not really understanding that there's a whole world to it. So I think, yeah, they're always trying to show new things, and how can we take this technology and adapt it into Formula One, and like how can we show something new? Yeah.
Sure. Let's switch gears a little bit. For folks that want to be creators in Formula One, I get this a lot, where people want access, people want the opportunity to. We talked about this a little bit too. Get in the paddock, get all this. What is maybe a couple pieces of advice, maybe your best pieces of advice for someone that is looking to break into, I'm going to say Formula One, but really any motorsport, and create content, be a content creator or some sort of content producer in Formula One. What do you think is the best advice you can give them?
I mean, it's a tough one for me per se, because I don't really have much experience into how you would approach one to get into, but I think it's a combination of factors. You have to be consistent. You have to fire out 20, 30 DMs or emails or LinkedIn or whatever it is. One might answer or two might answer. Show them what you've worked with, have your own style, be consistent, and just keep at it, honestly. Because at some point, life aligns itself in a funny way and something works out. It may not be what you're looking for, but something else that falls in line with what you're looking for will come about.
You said,
but yeah, it's a tough one. It's a very difficult world to get into. We've also received a lot of those questions. Yeah.
You said consistency, and I will reiterate what we were talking about earlier, is that there really isn't and I like hearing it from others because it also selfishly makes me feel good, and makes me feel like, oh, I know what I'm talking about. There is no way to quickly get into anything. You won't just show up on the scene. You know, there's folks that I talk to that have literally never created content at all online.
Yeah.
They don't even
Zero.
tweet. They don't even tweet, which is the lowest bar to get in anything, right? Just
Yeah.
fire off 280 characters is one of the easiest ways to start becoming a content creator. And so, you know, those folks, my advice is you have to start just doing anything.
Yeah, somewhere.
But
It's funny that you mentioned Twitter because I wasn't even on Twitter before that video came out. And then our mutual friend Charlie was like, dude,
Charlie,
create an account now and put that video now.
yeah,
And I'm like, really, man? Like, it's, Twitter, seriously? He's like, yeah, man, do it now. So I did it. And then the main reason why it really got traction is like Will Buxton retweeted it with monumental caption or something like that. And that's when it was already getting traction on other platforms.
yeah,
But I think Twitter for the Formula One community is like the holy Bible in
yeah.
a way. It's quite bizarre how the importance of it for the Formula One, like all the news that come out, that's the #1 conversation platform,
It is
more than Instagram, weirdly enough.
yeah.
So yeah.
But you know, so you just laid that out perfectly because you didn't even have Twitter, but
No,
you had been creating content.
for years.
Content seems so. What you do is a lot bigger than content, but it's content, and you've been creating it for years. You've been doing the work. You just weren't displaying it in a certain place. So, you know, for someone that's like, I haven't started or I don't know where to start, keep going, keep creating,
Yeah,
start putting it
100%.
out there, because you don't know when, you know,
You
in
don't
your case,
know.
it was like a Will Buxton, but like there's so many people that can see your content. You know, for me, this newsletter that accompanies this podcast or, you know, show, I started writing it to nobody. I had 0 people on my newsletter, and I just started tweeting the free letter out. I literally had 0 people subscribed, and as it started growing, you know, I have the opportunity to get in front of more and more people on Twitter. And now I've got folks from Formula One that subscribe to it, like directly from F1. I've got folks
Yeah,
at different team sponsors, different teams. And it's like, that's pretty cool for me because I know that what I'm writing is actually being, you know, looked at and read,
right.
even
Yeah,
if it's not directly, like, even if I'm not getting immediate feedback from those people. Uh, but same thing for you. It's like you've been creating it. Once you start putting it out there, now people can amplify it for you. It's like right place, right time, but also
yeah.
all the
I think
legwork.
there's a lot of right place, right time. I mean, for me, for that particular video, I had been to races before. I had created content in, not only motorsport, because we do content for a lot of different industries, but we have been putting work out for a long time. And then, for some weird reason, I feel like everything led up to that moment. Like the family's always worked with Formula One. I grew up here. I was into 360 cameras. How no one had done it before, I don't know. Because like it was just like on the spot. I had the meeting, like, yeah, we're gonna do this angle. Boom. And then I was running the track like the weeks before the production. I was literally just running every day around the circuit, like, please work, please work, please work, please don't fall. I was like envisioning, okay, the camera's gonna go through here, and it worked. So like I think there's a lot of things of like keep at it, even if you have 0 followers. Exactly. And I think nowadays it's tough for creators and just people in general. Like you have your debate of like, okay, do I want to just push out content or do I want to have a quality control? Like, okay, my next post is going to be a better picture and this, so I'm going to wait 2 weeks until I actually post again. And then you have a bit of self-conscious that comes in, like, okay, I have 0 people are following, or the last one had 2. I don't think that should matter. It's just consistency, master your craft, trial and error. Oh, this worked, that didn't. I should do more of this. So it's always a learning curve. It's a stepping stones.
It's like you had some better tips than you thought you did at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. I had to think about it.
I am going to be respectful of your time and whatnot, but what else
Sure.
are you working on?
Right. So we're almost about a year. It was a year ago that we did the Jean Z video. So due to the success of last year's video, we're preparing some pretty cool things this year. I can't reveal much. I can just say that it's more cars, more historic cars, more angles, and we are going to try and do something that also hasn't been done before this year. So hopefully it works. If it works, you will see it. And what else are we doing that I can? I'm literally the worst person because I get excited about these things and I say more than I should, and then I get in trouble.
Yeah.
But no, I can't. Yeah. No, but so the historic Grand Prix is on the 15th of May. So we have a lot of productions on those 3 days. There's Formula E on the 30th of April. But yeah, there's some exciting things that are going to be happening in Monaco during the historic Grand Prix this year. Hopefully everything works, and then we can probably have another conversation about it.
All right. We'll have to have you back to do that.
Yeah,
I sent you something over all the way to
you
Monaco.
did. Yeah. I haven't opened it yet. It's
I know.
sealed.
I noticed.
It's still sealed. So I think I know what's inside, but I don't really. So let's see.
Hopefully, hopefully they fit.
Yeah, because I didn't realize you do. You also have your own brand line of F1 merch.
I partnered with a company here in the US. Cool. I partnered with a company called Breaking T here in the US.
Okay.
They do.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Show it off. There we go. Monaco.
Yeah, I literally at some point I'm gonna get the track tattooed at some point because it means a lot to me basically. So that's awesome.
It looks cool knowing that
that's
in Monaco right now. Like that's
really
cool. Yeah. No, but I partnered with this company here in the US. They do real time. Oh yeah, and I sent you the hoodie.
Oh, the hoodie is awesome.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much. No
but
worries.
The cool thing about this is that we are working and just making things that like the community, the Twitter community, the F1 community is interested in. Whereas, instead of a shirt that's littered with sponsor logos and whatnot, I said, well, let's do something different that people would actually wear, So like I have this one where we kind of came up with it, and it says, this one right here.
Is that for Bahrain?
This was so on the back. It actually has. You can't see it, but it says Bahrain 2022. It says it's got Charles and Carlos's number and like where they finished. So we're trying to stay. Yeah. We're also trying to stay away from using anything that's not copyrighted. Obviously, I don't want to use
That's tough.
Names. But also, like these things, move all the time. Drivers move. Sponsors change. So how do you create something that lasts a little bit longer, but also celebrates a moment? So, a 1-2 is a big deal in Formula One right now. Finishing. So the
especially after the dry run. Yeah. I like how quick you are with putting out not just content, but like you had that idea and then you already have merch for it. That's awesome.
Like
that's
I said,
really cool.
I'm very, very fortunate to have partnered up with Breaking T because they do this with American sports already. So it was a conversation, a little convincing, and kind of making a deal that works for both of us, them and me, and them taking a shot and a chance on me. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, it's cool. It's to me, it's
cool because
stuff like that.
But it's what you were saying. Like, it's obviously a very complicated world when it comes to copyrights and all that. So you can't just like take a picture of the Ferrari and put it in merch. So that's tough. But I like the concept that you did, and I really like the Miami t-shirt as well because it's brand new, brand new Grand Prix. Yeah, no, it's
I'll get you a Miami one.
This is more relatable. This means more.
I'll get you a Miami one.
I liked. Yeah, thank you. I liked. I really like the fact that it's a new Grand Prix. And you already have something for it. That's awesome, especially for the American market, which is cool. Yeah. Are you going to the Miami Grand Prix?
So I live about an hour and a half from the circuit.
So you're going
literally 100 kilometers. No, my wife is pregnant.
Wow.
She's due within the next anytime.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're like happy and sad about it. No, like, didn't really have to fall on that weekend.
I'm very excited. I'm very happy. She actually, the due date is during the Imola race. So if she comes during that weekend, it might just be too soon for me to say, I'm going to go disappear for 3 days, down in Miami. So we're still playing it by ear. She wants me to go or try to get down there. I said, I can't leave you alone with a newborn. It's our first child. Like, I can't leave you alone with a newborn. So
if I see posts of you there, I won't be surprised.
I keep telling people, if you see me there, don't judge me.
Don't judge that's
me.
funny. That's really funny.
Yeah. So,
but congratulations. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for your time. Just let
everyone. No worries. A pleasure.
Let everyone know where they can find you so they can see more of your stuff. Where are you on social? What's your social media?
So I mainly work on Instagram. The handle is Lucas Brito. And then if you want to see behind the scenes and sort of the official after movie of last year's production on YouTube, it's Java Productions. But if you put Monaco Grand Prix Historic, it'll show up somewhere.
Excellent, excellent. And I'll be sure to share all this out. It'll be over on a post and whatnot. So I'll get that out there. But thank you so much, man, for joining.
Thank you so much. It was a great talk. A pleasure.
Yeah,
pleasure to be here.
Have a good one, bud.
Thank you. You too.